About EBSCOhost, but particularly the APA databases, the American Psychological Association databases that are within EBSCOhost. As of last year, it switched. We had APA PsychNet, but because of our content providers, it changed, and now it's just part of EBSCOhost. And the same search features are there, the same content is there, it's just a different provider. And the interface is just a little different. But the search features are all still there. APA PsychNet was like a huge psychological database. It was heavily used. And when it switched over to EBSCOhost, I think it threw a few people for a loop because it wasn't its own dedicated interface. So fighting with the more general interface of EBSCOhost and getting to the specifics is mainly what I'm going to focus on. And the content that we have the four main databases of the APA Psych databases. We have Psych Articles, Psych Info, Psych Test, and Psych Extra. And I'll tell you a bit about them. So I'm going to go access the database. So if you click on Scholarly Articles, it is here under Psychology Databases APA via EBSCOhost, or you can click on the Library Databases A through Z, view more results, but I'll go here. Let it load. There we go. And if we go down to should be under psychological. Yeah, they're here. They're actually pulled out by their names. So Psych Article, Psych Extra, Psych Info, and Psych Test. So let's look about the different ones. Probably the most popular one is Psych Info. So it's the APA database concentrates on international journals, book chapters, other literature. And this is psychological databases. All, it encompasses other content, not just APA journals, but other journals as well. If you want specifically APA journals, which are very difficult to get published in, Psych Articles, that's the APA published. So Journal of Abnormal Psychology, really the big popular ones, and they have a lot of different imprints. And then there's Psych Test, which is very helpful. This is if you're looking for validation of test validity, how they're administered, and there are some actual tests there. It also provides some articles about them. Not all of them are there. Of course, some you have to pay for, and of course, you have to be a professional to administer them. But it's nice to see them and actually look at the questions, and maybe it's a Likert scale or whatever. And not all of them are there, especially newer ones, but that's how you would get to a Psych Test. And then there's Psych Extra, which is probably the least useful. This is actually just conference proceedings, newsletters, reports, brochures, magazines, it's a catch-all. It really is a lot of stuff. It's outside of the peer-reviewed system, so it tells you right there, outside peer-reviewed system. So, and there's no overlap between the two databases. So this really is Psych Extra stuff. It's the one that is least used, unless you are really, really into a certain topic. Would you really access Psych Extra? It's thrown in there. It's just thrown in there like it's extra. it's not the best, but you get a lot of different varied content. So I'm going to access it through here, because if I access it through here, through our drop down, it actually selects those four databases all at once here. APA Psych Articles, and Psych Info, Psych Test, Psych Extra. And under here, you can notice in EBSCOhost, whenever you select different databases, you get extra search capabilities per database. So here we have special limiters for APA Psych Extra, which we're not going to worry about. Special limiters for APA Psych Info, and that's it. But if you go to advanced search, you're going to get much more. So here we get APA Psych Articles, Really nice, you can look under methodology, which I highly recommend, because a lot of times you're looking for empirical study, longitudinal, interview, clinical case, clinical trial, all the good stuff. The methodology is right there. Then there's a document type, which most of the time I recommend leaving alone, because you think you're looking for a review article. This actually is just a book review for document type, and I know that confuses a lot of students as well as faculty as well. There's some tests and measures. You can enter some content there, some classification codes, what axes you're looking for, and any supplemental materials. I'm going to skip down to Psych Info. You get a little bit more leeway as far as how you narrow down your searching. Here we can do peer-reviewed, we can do books, encyclopedias, because there's a lot more content in Psych Info, the intended audience, the book type, classification codes. Here again we get methodology, the document type, the same. There's that review you got to watch out for. It doesn't mean there's a retraction. Yeah, review any book media software, so it's actually a review, as well as languages. And you can choose to exclude dissertations, which can be helpful, because a lot of times you can't use a dissertation. It's great for finding a good bibliography, but not so much as using the dissertation. And then here, limiters for APA psych tests. You get some really good limiters here. So we're looking for methodology validity, construct validity, test reliability, consistency, sensitivity. Really amazing methodology that you can just narrow stuff down. Is it commercially available? Whether it's gender specific, supporting documentation, which I usually recommend not using because it kind of narrows things down. Of course, the title, the author, the test, the original, or any revisions that were made. Administration method of the test. If there's a fee, what type. A lot of times you're looking for a specific one, an index, a projected measure, survey, vignette or scenario, different ones, and then permission, and then psych test classifications are there as well if you know your axes and you know your classification. Let's go all the way up. So I'm just going to look for something very general. Depression. Now it has predictive text in EBSCOhost, so you're going to see depression, anxiety. I'm going to keep it really general because I want to really get into those databases. It pulled up way too many results for me to actually go through. So 367,000. Things I can do to limit this is just say I want only scholarly ones. I don't want anything from the 1600s. I want it maybe within the last 10 years. I want different source, different results. I can click that, which kind of overlaps as far as journals go and academic journals. Now here we can actually narrow it down more, just like we did, which we didn't do in the advanced searching. But here we get some more. We get age. So if we're looking for depression in 30 to 39-year-olds, called the 30s, there's even more. If we click more, the very old, we can leave it human. There's lots of different ages. The subject, here we can get different there's drug therapy. There's even more that we can narrow it down to. And the hit count is how many articles are being retrieved if you were to add that to your search. And adolescent psychopathology is the least one. Self-efficacy, we got some really good indexes here, these terms. And gender classification is the official classification, so it's an affective disorder. There's some prevention, there's some psychopharmacology. So if you were looking at what's the current medication, or what are some medications that are out there in to treat depression, brain damage, tests and measures. This is an amazing tool, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, but what's the most popular tool to measure depression? Or if you're looking at something very specific like um, post like postpartum depression. What is the one that's used? And obviously the Beck Depression Inventory is up there at 24,000 results. Then there's the Hamilton Rating Scale for Depression, Center for Epidemiologic Studies Depression Scale, the Mini Mental Scale Examination, and of course the Beck is probably the most popular one. There's also a Hospital Anxiety and Depression Scale, and these are the official names of these. And we can see if there's any more. If we're looking for a specific one, maybe we're looking for the let's see, Perceived Stress Scale, the Yale-Brown Obsessive Compulsive Scale. Let's narrow it down. I'm going to add that. And let's see what happens. So these should bring up the results with that test in there. And so it's obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Notice a lot of these are not full text. Here is one that is full text. But if it's not full text, don't worry, because we have Journal Finder, which of course is the bridge between other databases. I'm going to click on Journal Finder. Looks like we don't have that. It didn't pull up any results. Let's go to this one. This is in Journal of Behavioral Therapy and Experimental Psychiatry. I believe we have this one. No, we don't. Sometimes we don't. Here's some open access ones. Let's try one more. We got this one, maybe. But we're looking for, this is a fairly recent article, March of 2020, 32.2. And we don't have it because of the embargo. We would have had it in the independent free. So maybe there's a lot of psychological journals as well as medical journals we just don't have the most recent access to. So of course interlibrary loan would be the next thing. So if I really wanted, let's say I really wanted this one, what can you do? You can click on request through interlibrary loan right here. And if you log in with your CNU information, it will actually fill the form out for you. And there it is. So I'm a journal article, and it put everything in there. All you have to do is say when you need it by, your status, your department, submit, and you're going to get an email when it comes in. So that makes it very easy to do. So if I just looking at this, here we have the abstract, we have some keywords. So a lot of times when you're searching for psychological things, there is controlled vocabulary. And in the library world, controlled vocabulary is everything. Basically, it's what word we should use for what. So if we're talking about depression, should we use major depression? Should we use dysthymia? Should we use manic depression? What should we use when we're searching for stuff? And if you look down here, we see apathy, major depression, mental disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, psychodynamics. So, you know, and there's terms that change. There's multiple personality disorder, which is now dissociative identity disorder. So DID, yeah, DID is the new term. So how do you keep track of all that? Those things change, and what words are being used in the literature? There's an easy way to show you how to find that, and it's a very powerful tool, and I highly recommend using this. If you go up here to indexes, actually subjects, there we go. There's the APA Thesaurus of Psychological Index Terms. If you're familiar with MESH, the medical subject headings, it's the same thing, but it's the psychological, the APA, the one that they put out, and it's built right in here, which is amazing. Very, very useful tool. So what it does is it acts as, what are you looking for? So if I was looking for multiple personality disorder, I know it's not called that anymore, but the term contains, no, it's not pulling it up because I can't search with that. Let's go for this. if I could spell. Let's go with identity. Be very specific. Identity. Okay. So dissociative, I cannot spell. There's gender identity, dissociative identity disorder, identity formation. There's different ones. So if you click on it, this is the I think it's interesting. Here's the scope note, and I think scope notes are fascinating. What it is it kind of tells you what it is, and this is also the term when it was introduced, 1997, and used for multiple personality or split personality. So this is the term that's now used as of 1997. See, in 1997, the term was created to replace the discontinued term multiple personality. In 2000, multiple personality was removed from all records and replaced with dissociative identity disorder. This kind of clues you in as how the literature is changing their verbiage with what you should search for. So, a disruption of identity where two or more distinct personalities alternately control an individual's behavior and memories. It's kind of scary. So what we could do is we can then add this as a term. So I search for identity, but I have nothing up here, so I'm going to say just add it. Actually, I have to select something. So there's major concept, there's just broader terms, related terms. I just want the major concept. So it gives you two boxes you can check, and I'm going to say add. So then here it puts a little code. Specifically, I'm looking for this, and this is how it's indexed. Now, if I was looking for something else, maybe anxiety. Now, there's a ton of things, anxiety disorders. Here we got related terms. Maybe I'm looking for trichotillomania. That's where you pull all your hair out because it's one of those things you just can't stop doing. I'm going to click on this, and it looks like it was introduced in 2003. Excessive pulling of one's own hair. Replace the term hair pulling. So it's actually officially called trichotillomania. I want to add this one, and I'm going to say I want the Boolean operator. It's going to be and, but I could also exclude it. Maybe I don't want dissociative identity disorder and trichotillomania, but I want and. I'm really looking for both. I'm going to say add, and here it put and between there, and it formulated my search. Let's see if those two things are found together. Click search. Oh yeah, so looks like hair pulling may not be associated specifically with dissociative identity disorder. But here's one. But it did help me by kind of massaging my search. Here's dissociative experiences and trichotillomania, clinical and genetic findings. This is exactly what I may have been looking for. It actually is pulling it up. We got some, it's actually looking at a lot of things. Tourette's, bulimia, borderline personality, and the occurrence of trichotillomania. Comparison of brain volume and cortical thickness, and skin picking disorder and trichotillomania. Skin picking disorder is not picking at your cuticles. It's much more severe than that. Trichotillomania in a teen boy, gender identity issues formulated. Looks like the best way to attack the search is look for trichotillomania and comorbidity. What else is going on with that? Probably not obsessive compulsive, but disorder, maybe something else. So, and this is just talking about dissociative experiences, not so much DID itself. I think it's very clinical and very specific, but notice how powerful that search was. It really did. I was like, whoa, look at all this stuff here. I mean, really great stuff. Now with EBSCOhost, you can create, of course, a free account if you go to sign in, and I'm not going to do it right now, but you can add all these documents to your folder. You can also set up an alert for when new articles come out, so you can stay on top of the research. Maybe my specialty is hair pulling, and I'm all about some hair pulling. And then I would, get updates as new things come out. I can say I want it weekly or I want it monthly. You know, maybe monthly is a good um, frequency for that. And if I click on this, here I get a bunch of tools. So if I was in my account, I can actually create a note that is associated with this, saying maybe this is a seminal article, keep an eye on who cites this, or something like that. We can export this to different citation programs. Cite is always great because we're looking at the APA 7th edition. Here we have the formatted citation. But as always, it tells you review the instructions, pay special attention to personal names, capitalization, and dates. I have found issues with APA citations and EBSCO, so just be careful. Sometimes it does some weird stuff, and you want to be careful with that. And then you can actually save it to your Google Drive. This, since we don't have full access to it, it's only going to save the abstract. Print, email, you can email it to yourself. And there's a permalink. In the library world, we love permalinks. So this is a librarian tip, especially for faculty. If you are sharing content with your class, don't download it and then upload it to Scholar. Use a permalink. It will enable your students to go right to the database, but also give you the tools of that database with that article if they're looking for similar material. But as librarians, we see that the database is being used, and that helps us as far as stats and whether or not we should keep certain databases. So please use the permalink, and it saves space. You know, you maybe you don't want to upload a ton of content to Scholar. Maybe you're creating a bibliography. Use these permalinks, please. We really advise you to do that, just because it's easier and all students can access it. Even if they're off campus, they can still access permalinks. Let's see if there's anything good down here. Probably the last thing I want to look at is the indexes. So I actually, this is really a different way of searching. So I'm going to go right into PsycInfo and look in the index. So you get this really simple search page. I can say browse index. So if I was looking for, just a general search, I'm looking for, let's see, we could do tests and measures. Let's do age group. We can say browse. And then I'm looking at, so this is pulling up all the articles referring to, it looks like 18 and older is the most popular. Then beneath that is young adulthood. The brains are finished forming. And then we got 30s. Let's see, where's my, I would go, let's go to middle age and see, okay, so we want to look at middle age. And we're going to add that up here. And I want to select something else. Gender, browse, male. We'll add that as in the index. And let's do subjects. And here we get a lot, so we'd have to search for. Maybe let's do something really on this page. Abandonment. And I'm going to add that. So we're searching for middle-age male abandonment and see what pulls up. So it's a very depressing topic. Search. 44 results. Look how specific I was able, by using the index, to formulate a search and pull up very specific results, which I think is incredibly powerful. And it leaves a lot of guesswork. And those are terms that are used in indexing. I'm not trying to pull them out of my head. Behavioral reactions to emotional and sexual infidelity, mate abandonment, sad. Transgender individuals' experiences of local equal rights debate, parental education. So middle age, I'm seeing the subjects. It's getting looser, of course. This is ranked by relevance. I could change this by newest and oldest. Page options, I have all these details where I can change the way it looks. but it looks like this is the article. Maybe this is exactly what I was looking for. And one of the tips that I give people is if you find one article you absolutely love, what do? See what they cited, references. And look, you can actually click on these. There's some DOI links there that will either take you into this database or maybe open up something else. So there isn't that many, but it's pretty much on the same material. This is talking about spouses and jealousy, violence against wives. It's all over the place. But we get access to we can see if we have those. And here I can save this article if I want. I can print it. It even allows me to highlight and draw if I want, or have it read aloud to me if I was just doing something else, which is pretty nice. EBSCO is really good with those features. And I think that's about it. The index is quite, I think it's quite powerful, and I highly recommend it if you are trying to narrow things down or just trying to formulate a research topic. It can be quite good. But I think that's all we have time for. If you have any questions, you can always ask one of our librarians through chat or in person.